I probably should have pointed this out sooner, but I don't know anything about poker, Saelah said as she ascended the stairs behind Satoru. Not to worry, little Alpha. We have half an hour before the others begin to trickle in. We can give you a quick lesson, Satoru replied. But you don't have to play if you don't want to, Kento added. That would likely be the option she took since she hadn't really planned on playing to begin with. She'd never been much for gambling, but they'd invited her, and she wanted to spend time with them. She was also getting to meet some of their friends, which felt like a major step in their relationship since they'd already met the person closest to her. Satoru opened the door, turned on the lights, and Saelah followed him in. They'd ascended a set of stairs on the right side of his club. He told her he wasn't allowed to play in his casino, and even though the poker games he hosted were between friends, he didn't want to hold them there either. So they were held in the flat above the club, which he'd converted for that reason. There was a poker table with 9 chairs in the center of the room, a bar on the far side of the room. He left the kitchen intact, and there was a door across from the entrance, which he assumed was a bathroom. The entire space was decorated tastefully, but she could tell Satoru had put time and effort into it. If everyone shows up, I'll have to go get an extra chair from the casino, Satoru said. Why? Saelah asked, looking between the 3 of them. I have 3 perfectly good chairs to choose from. She smirked and they chuckled. Yes, you do, little one, Suguru responded. Come on, we'll give you that lesson. You can, but I'll likely just play with one of you. They sat at the table and they taught her the basics of the game. She figured it would take more time than they had for them to really dive into teaching her. How many people are coming tonight? She asked after 15 minutes and several teaching hands. 6, Suguru answered. 3 we went to high school with, Satoru supplied. The other 3 we met in college, Kento added. All men, or, Saelah asked. Men and women, Satoru answered. 10 minutes later, the others started arriving. Shoko and Urahime were the first ones who came that she was introduced to. Miguel was next, followed by Mei, then Darawi. Esdeath arrived last, taking the last empty seat. Satoru, we need another chair, Urahime announced. No, it's fine, Saelah stated as she stood from the chair she occupied, allowing Kento to have it since he'd opened the door for Esdeath. I don't know how to play, so I'll just watch, she finished as Kento pulled her down onto his lap. The other 6 looked between her and him, and Shoko gave her a knowing smile. Finally, someone else who doesn't know how to play, Urahime said. I don't either, so I act as the dealer each time. I'll watch you do it this time, and at the next one, I can give you a break, Saelah replied with a smile. Deal, Urahime replied. The 8 of them paid their buy-ins, and Urahime passed out chips, then dealt the first hand. The first round went to Darawi, the second to Suguru, and it was while Urahime was collecting the cards that Esdeath spoke. So, where did the 2 of you meet? She asked, eyes on Saelah and Kento. At a coffee shop, Saelah supplied. The one you usually go to, Kento, Shoko asked. That's the one, he replied. I'd seen her working a few times while I was picking up my coffee, and one day the machine needed maintenance, so I decided I would introduce myself. We had coffee together a few more times before I asked her out. That's pretty romantic. A coffee shop meet cute, Urahime said. You think any kind of meeting is cute, but you always have been a hopeless romantic, Mei said. I'm going to pour myself a drink. Bring me one too, Miguel said. Are you paying me to be your bartender? Mei asked with a raised brow before going to the bar. It must have been a common occurrence because Miguel sighed and trailed after her. Satoru, is there fruit juice in the fridge? Darawi asked. There is. There are a couple of different ones, Satoru answered. Saelah slid from Kento's lap when Mei and Miguel returned to the table. She went to the bar to make both Kento and Suguru drinks, a highball for Kento and a whiskey sour without the egg whites for Suguru. She watched both men make the drinks for themselves a couple of times and knew how they liked them. She then went to the refrigerator and grabbed one of the strawberry drinks from it. Satoru, your rut is coming up, right? You haven't called my service to schedule anyone, and you would have normally done it by now, Esdeath said. I won't need your service again, Satoru replied. Oh, she asked, and Satoru nodded. She likes him, Kento whispered in Saelah's ear as she leaned down to place the drink beside him. He and Suguru. Why don't you let her know they aren't available? He winked at her, thanking her for the drink. Saelah placed the other glass beside Suguru, then handed Satoru the bottle of juice as she slipped onto his lap. Esdeath's eyes shifted to her, and Saelah watched her eye twitch. I already have someone to help me through my rut, Satoru spoke, kissing her neck. I see, Esdeath replied. Saelah could see the question she wanted to ask in her eyes, but she turned her attention to the cards Urahime had just dealt. What type of service do you run? Saelah asked. It's a mating service. I pair alphas and omegas with someone to help them through their cycles. Sounds interesting, Saelah replied. Just to put it out there, you can sit on my lap next, Miguel joked with a chuckle. You want me to crush your esophagus? Suguru asked, eyes on Miguel. Saelah put her hand on Suguru's wrist. It's fine, love. I'm used to people making terrible jokes. Oh, it's one of those situations again, Shoko said, looking between Saelah and her alphas. Seems that way, Urahime responded with a nod. Something about this feels different, Mei started. I feel good about it. What are the 3 of you talking about? Darawi asked. They're courting her, Shoko pointed out. All 3 of you, Miguel asked. You say that like triads and quads aren't becoming more common, Shoko said. I'm really not surprised. They've been a de facto pack since high school, so they were always either going to share a mate or their individual mates would have to be alright with the amount of time they spend together. That's strange, Esdeath said. It really isn't, Mei countered. Not that, but if you're all courting her, I assume you won't be calling my service either since your rut is before Satoru's, right, Suguru? Esdith asked, and Saelah turned her attention to the mentioned man because she didn't know that. And it seems like he hadn't told you yet, Esdith said after a few seconds. Saelah didn't think her face had changed, but she noticed her scent had changed. It was now laced with curiosity. I'm not surprised. Suguru gets a bit aggressive when he's in rut. The betas I sent him have come back with their fair share of bruises, so I'd assume he wouldn't want to hurt a fragile little Omega like you, Esdith said, voice filled with mock concern. No need to worry about me, Saelah replied, flashing her canines. Sure, she learned that she was technically what they would classify as a dominant Omega, but the other woman didn't need to know that, and that seemed to be enough to shut her up. It's still a month away. I just hadn't told her yet, Suguru said, placing his hand on her thigh under the table. Looks like your big mouth beat him to it, Mei said, looking at her cards. Saelah wasn't sure it wasn't entirely on purpose, and while he said he planned to tell her, she made a mental note to talk to him about it before they parted ways that night. When the game ended a couple of hours later and everyone began to leave, Urahime stopped at the door, pulling Saelah into a hug. It was so nice meeting you. Be sure to text me, and the three of us can have lunch together, she said as Shoko wrapped an arm around her waist. It was nice meeting both of you too, and I definitely will, Saelah responded. Once there were only the four of them left, she turned to Suguru. Can I talk to you for a minute before we go? Of course, little one. Will the two of you give us a couple of minutes? We'll just step outside, Saelah said to Kento and Satoru. You can stay here. I'm going down to check on things for a few minutes, Satoru informed. I'll join you, Kento said to Satoru. Come get us when you're ready. He then directed to both of them. When they were alone, Suguru led her back over to the table and pulled out a chair for her. I know what you want to talk about, and I need to be honest with you. I wasn't going to ask for your help with my rut. I'm still not going to ask you, he told her. Is it because you're afraid you'll hurt me? It is. I lose myself in rut, and the alpha part of me doesn't recognize the person under me as anything other than a hole to be used because I don't care about them outside of handling my rut. It doesn't either. I could see how that would be a problem if you didn't care about me. She paused because while she felt like he did, that could have been presumptuous on her part. Or do you not? Suguru took her face in his hands. Of course I do, and because I do, I don't want to hurt you. So you're going to what? Call Esdith? No, baby. I plan on riding it out alone. Why would you do that when I could help you, she asked. I know you said you don't want to hurt me, but I don't think you will. And if it doesn't make you feel threatened, we can get one of them to stay with us. That way you know someone is there if you lose control, which I don't think you will. Saelah watched him think about it for a long moment, and she could tell that he was torn. She was just about to tell him it was fine, and it wasn't her intention to push him, that they could skip this rut and talk about it once his next one came around when he spoke. Okay, but Saelah, if I hurt you during it, do whatever you have to stop me, even with one of them there. Promise me. She didn't think he would hurt her, but she knew agreeing would put him at ease. She moved to sit on his lap and kissed him softly. I promise. Suguru kissed her again before they both stood and headed towards the door. He turned the lights off, and they listened to the lock click into place once the door was closed. They headed towards the club entrance, and she allowed him to guide her to the front of the line and past the bouncer. A few people in line voiced their complaints. Satoru and Kento were sitting at the table she'd first sat with Satoru the second time she'd visited the club. They joined them, Suguru pulling the chair out for her. All good, Kento asked. All good, Saelah confirmed. We'll let him finish his drink and then we'll go, Satoru said, gesturing towards Kento. I'm not in a hurry. I don't work tomorrow, she replied. As a matter of fact, I expect each of you to dance with me before we leave. Our bossy little future mate, Suguru said. We've established that you like me, bossy. We do. We also like you whimpering beneath us, Satoru replied. It's such a pretty sound, Kento agreed. Among other sweet little noises you make, Suguru added. Saelah shifted in her seat and tried to ensure her scent didn't shift, but from the smirks on their faces, she knew she hadn't succeeded. Well, if you like them so much, then you should help me make them more often, she countered. Careful, pretty, or we'll leave and you won't get those dances, Kento said. I can't have that now, can I? She asked. Saelah would get her dances, and she would work up to asking them for something she wanted, something that conversation had sparked.